Good evening. It is Friday the 4th. I'm going to double check my math there on that one. It's Friday the 4th. It's about 6 o'clock. Just walked in the door from my office, and I have another package today. It has been a very busy mail week this week, and it's been a very week personally this week. But we've got our pivot door hardware, so everybody who's been excited and wanting to see this, we'll open it up here shortly. And down below here we have our mock-up, so we're going to replace the, I'm going to grab this so you guys can see it. If you remember, I put just a little bolt through there to simulate the pivot, just to get everything mocked up. And we're going to be putting the full pivot, maybe not into this mock-up, but into a section of the mock-up. It may be a little different than what it's going to be, but anyway, we got to figure out the clearances and all that stuff and make sure we have the right stock. Sorry about that, guys. We have the right stock for the size here. And just so you know, we have a little glory down here tonight. Oh man, I always like to see the American flag. It was raining the other night, so I brought it down here to dry it out. It was a little windy. We didn't want to whip it around. Just kind of fun to have that hanging in the old shop. No offense to any Canadians or Aussies or Germans or who else? I think we've got some Danish, some Flemish. I'm going to say Flemish. Belgian. I think you go Flemish with the Belgian. Swedish. We've got a bunch of other countries, and everybody should be proud to be from the country they are from. I'm proud to be from the United States. So anyhow, we're going to open up this package and see what the hardware is. Again, if you follow my Gia build, this little package here costs just as much as all the rubber seals for my entire car, which isn't cheap. And where's my knife? There it is. So let's get to the opening. I may forward through some of this. This is Dorma hardware. Rixson makes hardware that's very similar to this. I think there are a couple other companies that do as well. The folks at Rixson, I talked to them on the phone, and I hate to dog on Rixson because they've provided me with a lot of good hardware over the years for different projects. They were somewhat unsure of whether their hardware could handle this application. So I called the folks at Dorma, and they gave me the thumbs up and said that their hardware would absolutely work. So guess who got my money? Dorma. So here is the bottom pivot piece. So this is a solid cast piece right here with countersunk holes. So this will go on the bottom of the door, like that. This is the top pivot right here. So this, we'll explain it here in just a second. Let me get all this stuff out. There we go. Now it's all going to start to make a little more sense. This right here gets poured into a mortar bed underneath the door. So in the sill, so you can see these big pins here get poured into a concrete. So that's our sill. Then, here we go. And I'm opening all these up. I hope I don't lose them. I won't lose them, don't worry. This shaft, I think, goes through here and connects in. It's kind of a fancy little operation. But this sill plate here, and I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Let me bring you in a little closer, guys. There we go. That better? We're kind of unstable. Give me just a second. My goodness. There we go. That's better. We're going to get better yet. There we go, huh? This is a big bearing right here. You guys can see that. So this thing has a tapered square, I'm going to call it a tenon, and it goes down into the bearing, and then there's this little screw, so it tightens up. Then this piece sits on top of that, screws into our door. Sorry, that was upside down, I think. Maybe, maybe not. No, I think it's like this. I think it's like that. I had it right. So this goes into the door. So it's able to kind of move just a little bit this way. All the weight actually bears on the top hinge that is the rotational weight. This is just dead weight, straight down, dead load, like that. No shear force, no bending force in this one. So this little bearing here can take up to 1,000 pounds, is what they've told me. So we are going to have to, in the bottom of the door, I'm going to have to weld a plate in so that we get our clearance that we want. I'll weld a plate in so this will be recessed up into the door. The bottom of the door will line up with this, and I'll make an access panel for it that will be removable, so if this ever has to be serviced in the future, I'll be able to do that. And then it all goes together. It's a great thing. So I believe what happens when you install this thing is you turn this guy out and you take your door and you set it over like that, and then you lock in the top hinge. So let's go through the top hinge real quick. And the thing is, there might be other architects looking at this who've always wondered how this hardware works, and for some reason they won't send you samples of this stuff so that you can get an idea of how it all works. So this is the piece that goes into the door. It's aluminum, very lightweight. There's a needle bearing in there. Can you see that? So you got to be very careful you don't lose those needles. I just dropped a screw. Give me just a second, guys. I can't be losing hardware here. This plunger goes up and down, so this is kind of the money maker right here. When you slide the door in, you screw that piece down. That's what locks it in. So if that makes sense, this mounts to the jamb of the door. So it starts out like this. This goes into the door, so they sit like this, and then when you get everything lined up, obviously your door's got to be a little bit out of plane. You drop this guy, and if everything lines up properly, it drops down into the hole there, and that's your pivot, and this holds all that rotational weight of the door. So really kind of a cool system that we'll be putting together. This looks like some sort of a cover plate. Not sure. It must go here like this. I'll have to look at the instructions on that one. So there you go. That's how it all works. Some of these, and I might have to call the manufacturer, you can actually drill a hole, center line a hole through here and run wiring through, and that will allow you to put a light in the door or anything else that you want to put. So pretty cool little set of hardware right here. Pretty expensive little set of hardware. It's obviously something that's beyond most fabricators' abilities to put together, and then add on top of that, you know, having to weatherproof these bearings and all that kind of fun stuff. So pretty difficult thing. By the way, this top plate actually unscrews here. So you pour the bottom plate in to the concrete, clean it all up, and then you put the top in here. So anyway, there you go. There's another thing. I don't know how this goes on. This must go between. That's another weatherproofing piece. Sorry about that. Should have showed everybody that. That piece goes on there. Cap it all up. That piece goes in. Everything tightens. So really cool piece of hardware right there. I spent some serious time on the telephone today with a number of hardware representatives for different companies trying to figure out how to do the latch mechanism on the jamb. And just an FYI, everybody's reaction is, why do you want to do this? You're doing something that nobody typically does. This isn't really worth your time. Why don't you just put in a normal door? It's all the stuff that most people who don't want to say they're lazy. They either don't have creativity or they don't have drive to do different things. They don't understand this process. And if you look back over time, I'm sure, you know, the guy who built the first monster truck was probably told he was nuts, and now, you know, people are making millions of dollars off of their monster trucks and things like that. I mean, this is right in that category of things that, yeah, this isn't a normal front door, but it's pretty damn cool. And I think as time moves on, you'll see a lot of these across the world. I mean, there's a lot of them out there now. Anyway, anything you do creative like this is always subject to people that, why do you want to do that? Why are you wasting your time on that? Why don't you just do something simple? Why don't you build a building that's more square? I get that one constantly. Can we square this thing up? Yeah, we can square it up. We can make it a simple box and just put a flat lid on it, and you know. But the people who are curious and the people who are doing different things are the ones who change the world. So if anybody tells you don't do it, or you shouldn't do it, or you're crazy, you just keep doing it. All right, guys, we're going to open up a little access hole here after some serious ciphering. I figured out that the offset here, this has got to be flush with the bottom of the door right here. And if I put a piece of 1/4-inch plate, excuse me, piece of 1/4-inch plate, and then the thickness of this door material, it puts us flush with the bottom. So I'm actually going to drill holes that match these holes here, and these are, I think they're 1/4-20 bolts that go in there. So I'll tap 1/4-20 holes, and we'll come in from the top to attach our bottom piece here. So I think that's going to work out real slick. We're going to see if that gives us enough threads, etc., etc. But I'm going to cut an access hole here, and hopefully that will give me enough room to weld this down and bolt everything in, and then we'll make the access nice. It'll be to the inside of the door, so if we ever have to do any future repair on the real door, you don't have to cut it apart to do a replacement or a repair. Okay, I wanted to get you guys up to speed on what's going on here. So we cut our access panel here, and we also cut a hole in the bottom right there. We're in view. Cut a hole in the bottom, so that's going to be so that piece can come in. Now we are working on the 1/4-inch plate, which is this guy right here. So the interesting thing is here, this has got to come out flush, so we got to cut this little chunk out, and I really don't want to have to monkey around with this little, I don't know, 1/2-inch piece back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a fat at that point right there, so we'll have it'll look like almost like a monkey wrench. So then we'll be able to drill the holes, everything will line up perfectly without having a little doodad back there. So and just to let you know, I'm trying to work as clean as I can, because perfect practice makes perfect. But by the same token, there are certain things that just need to happen for function, and so my lines aren't always going to be straight on the mock-ups. But keep in mind, on the final, these will all be cut from templates that are probably going to be made from plywood, so that the lines are perfectly straight and machine-like. I really don't like sloppy stuff. So we're going to cut on this piece of 1/4-inch. I always have a bucket of water right there. I don't ever show it, but I always do. My father-in-law is the fire marshal here where I live, and he runs structure fires all the time because people are in their shop welding, and they've got something hot, and they set it somewhere and it catches fire and they aren't prepared to deal with it. So you should always have a fire bucket if you're going to be doing this kind of stuff, and you should have a plan on what you're going to do. The first plan of action, if anything happens here, and this is kind of getting off subject, is to open the garage door and take whatever on fire out of the garage. That's first things first. The second thing is throw water on anything that's remaining, and I have a garden hose that's right around the corner that'll fire up and put anything else out. So you have to be very cognizant of these things, and sometimes I do leave stuff around that shouldn't be around. I like to say that I've been doing this long enough that I know what I'm doing, but the truth of the matter is you can never be too careful. So just a little tip there, guys. Alright guys, there she is. We're not exactly flush, but we're pretty darn close. We're within, I'm going to say 1/16 of an inch. And when we get out our little guy here, and we look at the clearance, we've got plenty of clearance. It sits on the bottom of that shoulder. That's where it sits into the bearing. So that's good. What we're going to do, and I got to wrap up because my battery's dying, is, hang on. We're going to drill the holes in this guy that are going to be threaded, and then we're going to drill another set of holes that are going to be for plug welding. So we're going to plug weld this straight down through here. I can't really edge weld it without cutting this all the way down, and really I can't do it from the other side because we've got our automatic door bottom in there. So this is the exact reason we build mock-ups, so that I know exactly how I'm going to weld and do everything there is to do. So we're going to drill some holes in there and then we'll be done for the night. Okay, last little look for tonight. We've got all 5 of the bolt holes threaded and the screws or the bolts in there. And I've marked out, sorry, this is the bottom of the door. I've marked out where I will drill to do my plug weld. The only reason I'm not doing one here is I got a note here that I don't want to screw up. So what we'll do is we'll put a plug weld on both ends and then kind of in between each of the screws, and that would be plenty to hold this guy together. I'm excited. I think this all worked out